So we look at the greatest teaching of Jesus for disciples. And what is Jesus trying to do with the Sermon on the Mount? He's not trying to give us a whole bunch of extra rules. The rules here, like if someone slaps you on your right cheek, turn to them the other cheek. If anyone asks you for anything, give it to them. Right? If someone asks you to go 1 mile, go an extra mile with them. Do not resist an evil person. We look at these things, we're like, this takes the law of Moses. I think I'd rather take the 613 laws of Moses over the Sermon on the Mount. People look at this, it's like, this is humanly impossible. Some preachers will tell you, well, isn't that kind of the point? It's supposed to be impossible because only through Christ. No. That's not the point. Jesus is giving us the secrets of living truly free. And later in Matthew chapter 11, he says, this is the easy yoke. He says, listen, I live this way. My yoke is easy. My burden is light. Like, my life is amazing. That's what Jesus was saying. He's like, come on. My life is amazing. And I want to teach you how to have the most amazing life you could ever imagine, beyond actually your imagination. Jesus is the source of life. Now, science is trying to figure out where life came from. We all know where life came from. Eventually, they will prove the fact that God is the origin of all life. You know, like you can put the materials of a body together. We actually have the technology to create cells and things like that, right? We can kind of form things, right, into the same shape, but we can't animate it with life. Well, we don't have that power. Jesus has the power to animate things with life. He's the source of life. And so, when we look at our life, we want to turn to the source. And Jesus isn't giving us a whole bunch of rules to follow so that we can fail. What he's doing with the Sermon on the Mount, he's giving you a window into his character. What makes him tick behind the scenes? By outward actions. Jesus said that he would only teach the people in parables, so that we would always be hearing but never understanding. It's only the people who are hungry and willing to ask, seek, and knock, to go deeper, to abide in this word, to try to figure it out, to apply it to our life. Those are the people that the secrets of the kingdom are being revealed to. But you have to earnestly desire it. It's a precondition. If you don't, you're never going to get anywhere in the life in the kingdom. Because we approach this stuff and we say, okay, Jesus is giving all these rules. How is this even humanly possible? How is it even humanly possible? But as I've been teaching, we ask toward the Sermon on the Mount, we ask what kind of person would do these things? Because it's about becoming a kind of person. You're becoming like Christ in character. So what kind of person turns the other cheek? What kind of person goes the extra mile? It's the kind of person who loves other people and sees the value in another person and is unafraid of what might happen to them. So they don't base their reactions on self-preservation, right? We have a fight or flight response in us, right? It didn't come from evolution, actually. It came from the sinful nature, right? It's exactly what you see in the Garden of Eden, right? The first thing that Adam and Eve did was flight when they sinned. They took off. We're getting out of here. We got to go hide. God's coming. We're in trouble. And then when God caught them, they fought. Adam's like, it was the woman you gave me. By accusation. He fought by accusation. Of course, he didn't fist fight God. Even Adam, having sinned, was smart enough to know that that wouldn't work out for him. Oh, that was a joke, but it fell. Sorry. Okay, so we have this fight or flight response that's natural to us. But in order to become like Christ, we have to see a bigger picture. It's when we see the bigger picture that we're able to act without fleshly reactions, but rather through godly reactions. And then we begin to make a difference. Every time someone comes to sin against us, we make life-changing differences in the people who are witnesses of that. It's amazing. So I want to give you today 4 misinterpretations of this. Or not 4 misinterpretations, but we misinterpret what Jesus is saying here, and the way to stop misinterpreting it is by involving these 4 things, right? Because, like, let's just say someone comes at you, an evil person comes at you, it comes at Darian, to fight him, right? And he's like, okay, I'm not going to retaliate because Jesus said so. But this person's coming to kill him. Not going to retaliate. But then Darian's kind of standing in front of some children. And he knows that if he goes, the children will be attacked next. What should you do? Retaliate or not retaliate? What's more loving? Right? Give to anyone who asks you. Give anything they ask for, right? So you go over to your friend's house because they called you on the phone. They say, I want to take my own life. You go over to your friend's house and they said that I was planning on doing that by taking these pills that I have, these prescription pills. So first thing you do, you go, you take those pills. You grab those. And they say, listen, I want my pills back and I need you to go right now. Get out of here. Do you give to the one who asks? Give anything? What's the more loving thing to do? See, Jesus, in order to become the kind of person that Jesus wants us to be, a Christian, right? In order to become a Christian, we cannot think in terms of the law. We have to think in terms of the Spirit. Because if you think of how do I follow the rules, then you're going to follow the rules and do something horrible. Well, I gave to whoever asked me of anything. And then this person takes their own life. And then when you stand before God, he says, why didn't you love that person? And you'll say, I just did what you told me to do. And we push the blame on God by just following black and white rules. And we all know people who live in the black and the white rules in life, right? Everything's black and white. This is wrong. This is right. Absolutely. All the time. There's something broken about their heart. We end up pushing the blame of our decisions upon God, and we just want rules to follow. What's right, what's not right. And then we don't have to think about how we should respond in each and every moment. I don't know if I'm communicating this well or not. Every situation requires a thoughtful response. Not just finding a rule in here. The rule is love. Paul says, above all these virtues, put on love, which binds them all together in perfect unity. Because if the highest characteristic of God is love, then he knows how to operate in any given moment. He knows what is the best good that I can bring about for this person. That's where we want to go. Now, how do we get there? I'm going to give you 4 ingredients for the recipe, all right? My 4 ingredients for a Jesus smoothie, all right? Complete with protein and the other healthy stuff. one vision. You're taking notes, vision. We can only be vulnerable to others if we see ourselves as invulnerable. If someone slaps me in the face, I won't retaliate because I see myself as invulnerable. I can be vulnerable in that moment. Yeah, sure. Hit me, abuse me, take advantage of me. Because you can't hit me, you can't abuse me, you can't take advantage of me, right? Because I'm invulnerable, not in the flesh, but in my future. This is why Christianity is built upon hope. And Jesus is our living hope, it says, that anchors us behind the curtain in the inner sanctuary. Like the Holy of Holies in the temple and tabernacle, the inner curtain, our hope is anchored in the holiest of holies because Jesus is the living sacrifice, raised from the dead. So Christianity is built on this hope that even though you kill my body, you can't touch my soul. I have a God over my soul, and I'm perfectly safe. And my future is completely secure. And so when people take from us, it doesn't bother us. You know, what billionaire is concerned about losing $10,000 or needs to be concerned about losing $10,000, right? They don't need to be. It's like 0.001% of his wealth. It's nothing. It's pennies, right? $10,000 might be a lot to us, but to them, it's nothing. In the same way, if we see ourselves as rich in the kingdom of God, then the things that happen to us in this life are no big deal. That's why Paul says, I learned the secret of how to be content in every situation, whether I'm well-fed or hungry, whether I'm clothed or naked, whether I have a nice house or I don't have a house, or I'm floating in the open sea. Like, I'm just content. And why is that? Because his vision was higher. His vision was on the future. His vision was on a God who has a plan that's better than we could ever imagine. And I love, if you've ever been to Florence, there is a giant naked statue of a man. And I would recommend you go and see it. Let's do an altar call, actually. For myself. Okay. No, I'm serious. Like, Michelangelo created probably the most famous and the greatest sculpture of all time called the David. And I was like really not interested, but it's like one of the wonders of the Renaissance art, right? In the world, it's one of the most famous things ever created artistically. So I'm like, we're here, we're in the city, I might as well, right? So we go, and I'm like not really looking forward to it. They show you all these other sculptures from that time and the era. You're like, oh, it's okay, yeah, kind of looks weird. And then you see the David, and it's like, it's massive, and you're like, whoa, that is impressive. Like, what am I looking at? This is amazing. And, you know, I wish they'd cover things up, but like, I understood right away why this sculpture was so famous, right? So Michelangelo tells when he saw the marble that all the other artists were like, no, it's got too many imperfections in it, don't want to use it. Michelangelo saw it, he said, I saw the angel in the marble, and I just took away everything that I needed to set it free. Like he saw the image and he chiseled away the things that weren't the David. And in the same way, when people come at us to attack us, or to take from us, or to take advantage of us, or to slander us, or to do something evil against us, why are we not concerned? Because we realize they're just chiseling away the things that aren't me anyways, right? Like, because our vision's higher. We understand that God is forming our character to become like Christ. And Christ, his message is, no one takes my life from me. I lay it down of my own accord. It's my choice to lay down my life. You might think that you arrested me, but I allowed you to. You would have no power over me if it weren't given to you from above. Jesus enters into suffering with complete confidence because his vision's higher. He knows what his God, his Father, is making him. He's making him into the greatest symbol, the greatest source of strength, and the greatest redemption that humanity will ever know for all of time and all of eternity. Right? Jesus saw the vision, so he goes to the cross. Hebrews chapter 12 says he goes for joy. He goes in joy toward the cross because he knows that everything that the world is doing to him is just chipping away the things, right, that aren't him. And in the same way, approach your suffering that way. Get your vision higher. And then you will be able to be vulnerable in moments when you need to be and firm in moments when you need to be. A parent who says yes to their child all the time is not loving them. Oh, a parent who says no to their child 90% of the time is probably a loving parent. I'm sorry, guys. I know. It's like, why did you say that, Pastor Richie? I'm sorry, but it's true. A parent who doesn't discipline their child, I don't want to say this word, S-P-A-N-K, okay? A parent who doesn't do that probably isn't loving their child. You do it in love, though. You don't do it in anger. Some of us realize, and we've experienced when our parents spanked us in anger, right? And that's not healthy. It's not healthy to do that. My dad, when he spanked me, I got spanked quite a lot as a kid. I'm not joking. That was a serious moment. You weren't supposed to laugh at my sorrow. Like, seriously, I'm talking about getting spanked as a child and you're laughing? No, just joking. So I got spanked a lot. And my dad would give me the speech every time. It'd be a 2-hour speech. Son, you know why we're having this conversation? It's just like the police officer. Do you know why I pulled you over? But with the police officer, it's like, you don't say anything. It's like, my lawyer will talk to you. Okay. With your dad, it's like, no, because if I don't say anything, it ends up being 2 hours instead of 15 minutes. And he's not going anywhere until you admit guilt. I have all the time in the world. This is good, godly parenting, by the way. I have all the time in the world. I just cleared my entire schedule to discipline my child. Does not matter. Anything else that I'm doing does not matter. I'm going to sit here. We're going to figure this out, right? So, you know why you're getting a spanking, son? We talk about it, and then, I'd grab my heels or bend over his knees as a kid. And then he would say, son, this is going to hurt me more than it hurts you. Yeah, right? What's unbelievable, though, I'm not exaggerating. My dad would already be tearing up. He literally was already crying. So I knew it wasn't just a colloquialism, right? It wasn't just an empty phrase that my dad was saying. He felt it. I don't know how he felt it. He's pretty manly and tough, but man, his heart was tender in those moments. And he cried. I remember seeing the tears in his eyes when he had to spank me. He didn't want to do it, but he realized that unless he teaches me consequence, I'm going to go down pits in life that will completely rob me of my God-given destiny. So my dad saw a vision for my future that was way bigger and better than I could see in the moment as a kid. So he was willing to do something that was hard. So our vision for others helps us to make the right decision in the moment. Instead of just, I'm going to turn the other cheek. Sometimes there's moments where you have to stand and be strong and protect others. Where you have to use violence against someone in order to protect other people. And that's the loving thing to do. But the point is that in the kingdom, we're not reacting in violence. It's calculated. It's appropriate in the moment. We're always, this is the word for the sermon. This is the one word, appropriate action. What's the appropriate action in this moment based upon the bigger picture? What's the appropriate thing to do? So if we have a higher vision, we know. 2, the second ingredient is purpose. The world is a broken place filled with broken people. God created it good, and we see the effects of his goodness, but we also see the brokenness in the world. There's a lot of tragedy all around. There's a lot of horrible things in creation too, right? The world is a broken place, but you have been called to be light and salt. This is what Jesus is getting at. You were put here with a purpose. Your purpose isn't to experience the good life and to get yours. The purpose is to be salt and light in the world for others. And you can only be that way if you know that your future is secure. I have nothing to lose because God has literally made me a co-heir with Christ. The inheritance that belongs to Jesus is the inheritance that belongs to me. Like if I know this and I believe this and I lean into it, then I can now live my life with a greater purpose. It's not about me getting what I need. It's about me giving to help other people grow. So I approach life with a purpose. There's a wonderful passage in Ezekiel 47. Let's just flip there real quick. Ezekiel 47. This is such an amazing verse. And it highlights, like some of the other prophetic literature also talks about this. Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel. It's like in the second half of the Old Testament. Ezekiel 47:12. Okay. Fruit trees of all kinds will grow on both banks of the river. And the trees are you. You're the tree. The river is Jesus or the Spirit. Fruit trees of all kinds will grow on both banks of the river. Their leaves will not wither, nor will their fruit fail. Every month they will bear fruit because the water from the sanctuary flows to them. So this is an image that Ezekiel's seeing where water is flowing out of the sanctuary, the Holy of Holies. It's flowing out of the Holy of Holies, which is where the Spirit of God is, right? So the water is the Spirit and truth. When you're planted by the river of the Spirit of God, then you're taking in that water constantly. You're drinking in the waters of the Spirit, and you produce fruit every month because the water from the sanctuary flows to them. Their fruit will serve for food and their leaves for healing. So people, when they walk through the forest of the house of Yahweh, right? They walk through the forest of Jesus people. There's fruit for them to eat. They're nourished by your life. And the leaves that grow from you heal them. So our job in a broken world, Jesus has made you to be a source of healing that flows from him. Like you're not the remedy, but you're the connection point for people of the remedy. As your life reflects his life. If your life doesn't reflect his life, people see hypocrisy. No, thank you. That's why people leave the church. They see broken people. They say, well, no, thank you. You're just as broken as I am. But we can be better. We can. You know, don't build your life on me. Build your life on him. He's good. He's so good. So purpose, you were put in this world with a purpose. To be a blessing to others. Because why? Why can you always be a blessing to others? Because you are blessed. You're blessed more than you could ever imagine. So vision, take your vision higher. Purpose, you're here to bless others. Number 3, motivation. You love others the way that God loves them. As we already talked about, love is the highest virtue. So how do we make the appropriate decision when someone attacks us, right? We make that decision through love. Having our vision higher enables us to be clear-headed in the moment and not reacting. Having a purpose lets us know that it's not about me, it's about how I can bless that person and make a difference in their life. So we're not selfishly motivated, and now we have room for the motivation of love. And now I'm going to consider, and this is the definition of love, to bring about goodwill for someone else, to desire good things for them, and to usher in good things for them, right? Even at the cost of ourselves. God demonstrates his love for us by sacrificing his life. He lays down, he loses, he humbles himself to lift us up. In the same way, love desires good for others, even if it means that I have to lose something. Because I don't mind. If I can lift you higher for the good of your future with God, oh man, it's worth it. Because our vision's set so high, we see life as it truly is, not life for the temporary. We're not living for the temporary seen things, making sure I feel good today, right? I just want to feel good today. But God is able to help us to see past just feeling good today into feeling good forever. And so then today, we're not trying to grab at pleasure because we're walking in pleasure. Does that make sense? And then we can be motivated by love because we're unafraid to lose. The 4th ingredient is decision. This might be the most important decision. You must make the appropriate decision in each episode of how to best love the person in front of you. This is what faith is all about. You think like, why would God send people to hell who don't have faith in him? That seems a little mean. Right? It seems mean. Like, why would God do something like that? Well, we look into the future, and there's coming a time when God's going to wipe out all evil from the planet. He'll take away the devil. He'll take away all the demons. He's going to throw them in a bottomless pit, the abyss, for 1,000 years. Jesus will rule the world in perfect peace. Finally, a competent leader, right? For all the people who are concerned about the environment, guess what? The environment will be perfected once again, completely restored. The lion will lay down with the lamb. Kids can play in a viper's nest, right? Because there will be perfect peace in the world. And after all of that, the devil will be released and will turn most of the people against Jesus again. How? When they saw the King of Glory with their own eyes, they saw what he did for the lives of people and the longevity and the legacy and how true it was. It wasn't just a temporary fix. He fixes creation permanently, right? And then people will say, you know, instead of trusting this king, I'm not going to put my trust in him. I'm going to turn against him and attack him. For whatever motivation that is, it tells us that at the end of the day, the one thing that separates the sheep and the goats is those who will lean on Jesus and trust him even when it doesn't make sense, even when it's confusing, even when it hurts real bad. That they just cling to him I've been in moments like that. I'm so confused. I don't know what's up and down and right and left and right and wrong. I don't know. I just feel totally confused. I've had seasons or moments like this, but my soul is just like, I'm going to take hold of the foot of the cross, and I just want Jesus. The one thing I know my soul wants is him. Through all of my failures, all of my mistakes, all of my insecurities, every pit I've landed myself in, my soul has clawed just one hand out and just say, I still want him. And so, why is decision so important in becoming like Christ? Because our decision maker is what's broken in us. We desire the things of this world. We desire selfishly. We desire everything and anything that we want in the moment or that we consider good. Sometimes we desire things that we know are bad, but we still want them. So how does Jesus transform your life? By helping you make the right decision when you need to make it. Which means you have to make the decision. It's not about obeying rules. It's about Jesus making you into the kind of person who has his heart and will make the same decision that he would make if he were in that situation. Right? What would Jesus do? We took that phrase from that book and we made it more about the law. Well, Jesus wouldn't cuss. Oh, Jesus wouldn't lie. Jesus wouldn't cheat in the game. Cheater. All right? We've made it about following rules, but it's not about following rules. It's about following a heart, the heart of the Creator. When we follow his heart and we make the appropriate decision in the moment, we become a little bit more like Christ. And that's the goal. And it's not black and white. It can be a little confusing. Like, what do I do? This week, I'm like, God, what do I do? I have this important decision to make. I don't know what to do. So I start asking people in the body of Christ, people I respect, right? Mature believers, what do you think I should do? What do you think I should do? Someone said, have you prayed about it? I'm like, yeah, I've prayed about it. Well, I'll pray again. Pray about it. God's silent. I'm like, why are you silent, God? You're quite chatty most of the time. Why are you quiet on this? Why would he be quiet, right? Because he's helping me to become a kind of person. And in order for me to get there, like, he is leaving space for me to make a decision. And because my mind is wired to get my vision higher, I know I'm here for a purpose. It's not about me. It's about blessing others. And because I have a motivation of love, bringing about the best possible good in someone's life, I can make a decision built upon those things. And when I do, I become a different kind of person. And God is like, patting himself on the back. I'm a good coach. God is a really great coach, by the way. If you trust in him, you won't be disappointed. You might be disappointed in a moment because life has all these kinds of hardships and difficulties that don't make sense. But in the long run, you won't be disappointed, right? Our vision can be very out of sorts in the moment. But if we get the vision higher, it makes a whole lot of sense. So let me read this passage in Matthew in closing. You heard that it was said, eye for eye and tooth for tooth. But I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If anyone slaps you on the right cheek, turn to them the other cheek also. And if anyone wants to sue you and take your shirt, hand over your coat as well. If anyone forces you to go 1 mile, go with them 2 miles. Give to the one who asks you, and do not turn away from the one who wants to borrow from you. This is describing what the automatic responses are for a follower of Jesus, for the life of Christ.